Depression is one of those terms that gets thrown around a lot. And you might be wondering to yourself, what actually is depression? Well, today I wanted to answer that question for you using the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual that's basically the manual therapists use to diagnose things. Hey everybody, my name is Joe. I'm a doctoral student studying clinical psychology, and this is Psych Made Simple. So as I said, we're going to look through the actual 9 symptoms of depression and talk through them a little bit. And one thing to start that I think will be helpful to explain is there's a lot of different diagnoses that are different forms of depression, basically. So 2 of the most common ones are major depressive disorder and persistent depressive disorder. And this is a helpful distinction to think of because major depressive disorder, that's probably the most common one, and it's an episode that lasts 2 or more weeks of 5 or more of the following 9 symptoms. You could have all 9 symptoms, you could have 6 of them, 7 of them, 8 of them, 5 of them, any combination, right? And then persistent depressive disorder, it's slightly different, but it's basically having 4 of these symptoms or more for 2+ years. So this is someone with persistent depressive disorder, someone who has been in this state for a really long time. Often it's like most of their adult life is feeling like this depressed state. So I'm going to go through the 9 symptoms real quick. The first one's depressed mood. Now that I use depression in the definition of depression, right? But that's basically the typical way we think of depression, of like sadness, feeling down. A lot of times we just say sad, down, or depressed. The second one is loss of interest or enjoyment, and that's in activities that you would typically enjoy, right? So if you have a certain hobby that you normally love to do, but for the last month or last 2 weeks or whatever it may be, that's just, you haven't gotten any enjoyment out of whatever that is, that would be meeting the criteria for that symptom. Oh, and just jumping back up to here is that all these symptoms are, I say, present almost all the time, and the technical definition we use is like, it's present most of the day, nearly every day. So as you can see, that's like more than half the days and more than half the time within those days. Next one is fatigue and loss of energy. And next is feeling worthless or guilty. And next is thoughts of death or taking one's own life. Now, I put the next 4 symptoms over to the right because I wanted to point out the fact that there's actually 2 different, almost opposites for all of these. So it could be a weight loss or weight gain can be a symptom. And that's usually about like 5% of someone's body weight. So it has to be like a significant weight loss, not just like 1 or 2 pounds or something like that. And then trouble sleeping, so that could be sleeping too much, also called hypersomnia, or sleeping too little, insomnia. Next has to do with your movement. So are you very restless or sluggish? So that's more something that is like very noticeable to other people, not just like this internal feeling of restlessness, but more that noticeable motor difficulties. The last one would be trouble focusing or deciding. So these are kind of similar, but there is the option, right? If it could be focusing or concentrating, or it could be trouble making decisions. And I wanted to point that out again because as you can see here, there's actually a lot of different forms of depression. So if you just factor in the fact that there's 5+ symptoms you have to have, so you could have 5, 6, 7, 8, or all 9 symptoms, and there's 9 different symptoms to choose from, or not choose from, but kind of to have possibly. That means there's 256 different symptom combinations that could qualify as depression, right? Just doing the 5 choose 9, 6 choose 9, that little thing we learned back in elementary school and totally forgot how to use, and I used a calculator for. And that's not even factoring in, I didn't even know how to factor that in, but that's not even factoring in the fact that each of these could be or, so that probably doubles it each time. So if you think about it, there's really like over 1,000 probably ways to be depressed, in a sense, to have these different combination of symptoms. I thought that was worth pointing out just because sometimes we think, when we get into the field of psychology, a lot of times psychology likes to equate itself with the medical profession of like, this is a specific diagnosis. You have the flu because you have this specific virus or bacteria in your body or whatever it may be, right? And I'm not saying the medical profession is simple because obviously people go for second opinions, things like that. And sometimes, cancer can be misdiagnosed, whatever it may be. So I don't think the medical profession is very simple, but what I'm trying to emphasize is that I don't think the psychology profession, when it comes to these diagnoses, is very simple or concrete. And there's positives and negatives to that, right? Because that means a lot of different people can kind of get similar treatment if the treatment is helpful for different forms of depression, right? Where you could have a form where you have 5 out of 9 symptoms, someone else has 5 out of 9 symptoms, but they could be totally different symptoms, and your one overlapping symptom is just like one person had a weight loss, one person had a weight gain, right? So you could have totally different symptoms, still be depressed. And then that means you could still qualify for the same treatments, which in a way is positive, but in a different way, you can see how that can be a negative, right? Of there's so many different combinations that is someone who, has this 5 out of 9 symptoms versus this person who has totally different symptoms. Should they really be labeled with the exact same diagnosis? So anyways, I wanted to just explain that to you. Feel free to let me know if you enjoyed this in the comments, or if you have any questions or other psychology-related questions that you'd like answered. And if you enjoy, please like, subscribe, and share with someone else that you think would enjoy. And thank you for watching. Have a great rest of your day.